I'm a mental health professional and had been for 33 years working for the County of Orange, directing and managing mental health programs. And then about in 2008, I took a course from NAMI called the Provider Education Class. And it was taught by people with lived experience. There were 2 family members, there were 2 individuals living with mental illness, and there was a mental health professional who was also a family member. And it was really kind of interesting. But as each week would go on, I began to realize that how much I did not know about mental illness. And at the end of the class, I came to feel that I had learned more in 30 hours than I'd learned in 33 years in the mental health system. The program that I was in charge of for the county at that time was a countywide program that dealt with families. So we were able to take a lot of those lessons that learned there and implement them. But it wasn't enough. And I began to see that the way that most mental health programs are run from a medical model is insufficient to meet the needs of the individuals and their support systems. And so 6 months later, I retired from the county. And I became a teacher of that class, and then I became a state trainer of that class, and then I got on the board of NAMI, and that led to me becoming the executive director of NAMI for the last year and a half. What's kind of interesting that I see about NAMI that's really different is our approach is different. We work from a fellowship model of care. We work from the lived experience. We don't label people. What we do is we accept them, and we try to provide the compassion and the support that they need to get the information and the support and the resources that they need to function effectively. NAMI represents both families and individuals living with mental illness. NAMI actually does 3 types of services. One is education, and those are our family-to-family and basics programs for families. And then for individuals, it's called peer-to-peer. But regardless of the type of education program, it's always from the same model, which is the model of the lived experience. And so we teach from a peer model. It's a fellowship model, a model that's relatable to people, where people can come in and feel accepted and not feel judged, where they can sit there and they can go, oh my goodness, there's other people like me, and it's very, very relatable. Here in California a number of years ago, they did a survey of mental health consumers, and they asked where are they most likely to experience stigma and discrimination. And the place that they identified where they're most likely to experience it was the mental health clinic. And it's not that the people in the clinic don't care or don't work to establish empathy and understanding, but it's the model of care, the medical model, that labels them, that judges them. And they feel like you're treated as objects of scientific study rather than as human beings. So it lacks the holistic model that's so important. And that's such an important component of the NAMI education programs, is that holistic model, the model of family, individual, treatment provider, and community all working together. Because that's what it really takes. No individual can overcome their mental illness on their own. No family can support them on their own. And no provider can support an individual on their own either. If a provider was able to work with them for an hour a week, that would be amazing, and it doesn't happen very often. But even if they did, that'd be 167 hours in the week that the person would be in the community without the others knowing about their struggle and how to get help. The basic problem I see for mental illness is really one of stigma. And stigma interferes with the ability to get help. From the time of onset of symptoms to the time when someone gets help, on the average is 8 years. That's crazy. And here, for no other disease would that ever happen. But what you have is individuals who are experiencing thoughts and feelings that they don't understand, that because of that, their functioning is impaired. On top of that, because of the changes in the way that they're behaving, the ones that are closest to them are having conflict with them and not understanding. And so the very people that they need for help don't understand what's going on. And from the family side, what they see is someone that they love, that they have hopes and aspirations for, that's not living up to their past potential. It's totally changing the way in which they view them. And so oftentimes they look at the person living with mental illness and they think of them as being oppositional, they think of them as being lazy, they feel like it's matters of character, they blame them for the behaviors that they're doing because they don't understand. And when this goes on for years, for 8 years, it builds huge, huge barriers between the individual and the families, the very people that they need the most. So this is what NAMI hopes to do, is to try to teach a model that's holistic, that helps everybody understand we're all in this together. It's a model, as I say, that teaches from the lived experience. It teaches the trauma of mental illness. And what I mean by that is I'm not talking about trauma that causes mental illness, though it can, particularly abuse and things of that nature. But I'm thinking the experience of mental illness itself is traumatic. Because if you're an individual with thoughts and feelings and relationships that are just blowing up on you and you don't understand what's happening, that's traumatic. And if you're a family member whose loved one is going through all kinds of changes that you don't understand, that's traumatic. And we need to understand the trauma and teach from a trauma-informed approach so we can normalize people's experiences. Because if we can normalize their experiences and help them find some acceptance within themselves, they can then begin to reach out to each other. And so what we're hoping to do is to develop a holistic system of care where the individual, the family, and the treatment providers are all working together on the same page. Because if we can do that, then when the client leaves the office and when the goes into the community, they have someone who knows what's going on with them, where they can go to get some support and people that can help him and her and love them and help them to move forward towards recovery.